Good afternoon, morning, evening or night, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Is Mass Effect bracket Mass Effect 1 Inside Legendary Edition unclosed bracket as good as they say. A show where we answer the question, is said piece of media to
as
what as the general consensus is. We know better than everyone else, so we're going to answer that question for you.
We got to decide. We got to put the truth out there.
Yeah, we need to use our superior knowledge to let people know.
We've got to use our Mass Effect fields, our biotic skills.
Yeah,
we've got to whip out our Omni tool and
our biotic amps.
Our Medigel.
We need to use all that stuff to sort of break down the truth.
Do you know how many Mass Effect lore videos I've watched in practice?
I've watched a few. I doubt as many as you.
You're crazy. He's crazy! Please, don't let him do this to me.
This is my kill, Garrus.
You're all crazy!
What was that, Shepard? Never hesitate when you've got the enemy in your sights, Garrus.
Point taken. Well, I guess we're done here.
This entire topic is quite intimidating, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I didn't quite appreciate the depth that they'd put into the Mass Effect universe. I'd always appreciated. I've always liked Mass Effect, but it wasn't until revisiting it now and going through it again, just the level of detail that they put into it. I kept thinking, man, it's so nice for the stories that they tell through Mass Effect and through all the lore and everything, how they get across. We put more thought into this than you.
Mm-hmm.
You know how often it's like in like a story in some video game, it's like, man, I'm noticing shit that's like I shouldn't have put more thought in the surface level stuff that's distracting me. In Mass Effect, I feel the total opposite. It's like they've thought so many levels beyond what you even thought possible to begin with, and it's kind of what the whole story is about. There's so much that's like revealed and planned throughout the whole Mass Effect series.
Yeah, but also the stuff that is just set in stone in the history of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
They have gone through like centuries of just history for a fictional universe, and they let you delve into it as deep as you want to go.
Because it's lore and these kind of lore backstory videos and shit and all this extra detail. It's quite big in games now, like Dark Souls, Destiny, whatever. But here in Mass Effect, it's like the perfect amalgamation of you get the kind of plot delivered, and that's good on its own, but there is this deep history that you do learn through the codex, you do learn through the dialogue and just the way people speak. Even it goes so deep that even some of the like nomenclature, the words that certain races throw out, certain gods they're referencing, those gods have entire histories, backstories. There's like an Asari god, they're always referring to this goddess. That's like a big thing. But then it's like revealed that the goddess is actually like a Prothean like implant thing. It goes deep. So this is what I mean about like trying to find a jumping on point to even talking about this.
Yeah, but the thing with that is I didn't even know that, but you don't need to.
No.
It's the perfect balance where the game naturally gives you everything you need to know.
Mm-hmm.
So you can enjoy it and have a good time. But if you are someone that really gets into this shit, it has so much to offer.
Yeah, so I guess we should try and start sort of top level, sort of. I mean, the basic premise is you're a space James Bond going around the galaxy trying to stop an evil threat.
Yeah.
The most simple level, like an existential horror threat that's been... We got to talk spoilers. I mean, I don't know like how to break this down without just delving into the deep end, honestly. Because, I mean, I would recommend to just play the games like yourself first. Like,
they're definitely worth playing. Mm-hmm. So the answer to the question is Mass Effect as good as they say. I mean, the thing is, I don't think Mass Effect 1, going by Mass Effect 1's Metacritic score, is as good as they say. It's not that good. But in terms of
I think it is that good considering a 2007 game. I think that is a 90.
It's hard to consider.
What was it on Metacritic? A 91?
91.
Yeah, I think for 2007, that game is a 91 because I couldn't believe how proficient it is and how well it's held up. Maybe not with some of the design choices and the gameplay stuff, but the story, the heart of the plot and the beats of what progresses throughout the game. I think it actually has the best plot of a Mass Effect game. I think what it's able to achieve and how it establishes the entire world, it establishes multiple different conflicts, all the different races, establishes the main core cast of characters, gets you to love them all, has all the beats you want, the set pieces, the presentation of it too, I find surprisingly effective, like with the last set piece of the game that's set on the Citadel.
Yeah.
That's like a great set piece ending moment. It's
ingenious to take this place that you associate with sort of tranquility and like sort of a hub.
Yeah.
And use that in the way they do. It's an amazing way to like...
It's like a video game sort of trope at this point. Like you have your base, and then at some point your base is attacked in some way, and that's always like a satisfying.
Yeah, I agree with everything you've said, but stuff we'll get into later is why I don't think the game is as good as they say. But I do think it's a game. If you are into video games in any capacity, you owe it to yourself to play this game.
Yeah, because I would always write off Mass Effect 1 because it hadn't been Legendary Editioned. I would say going back to the original would be a bit tough. But they've done a lot of work on modernizing it a little bit. But we want to talk about the gameplay later. I reckon we should just say whatever we want, spoil whatever we want. I'm clearly ready to just dive deep into whatever...
Yeah, let's do it.
Whatever shit I've been reading. So the basic plot of Mass Effect 1, even though we just did a brief one, I'm just going to spoil whatever now. The main kind of thrust of the game is that you discover that there is an ancient race. Well, they're not even a race. There's kind of an ancient AI creation. These Reapers. They're an alien race of robots. You find that out in this game. But there are multiple reveals regarding like the Reapers and the greater way they kind of interact with the universe. But you find out that these Reaper creatures, they purge the galaxy every 40,000 years or so. And they've been doing this for cycles, countless cycles. And the kind of thrust of the story is trying to stop the cycle. And it's the first time things are kind of going a bit different in the cycle, and the Reapers are actually scared of what you as the main character is building up and choosing, like through your choices. And
that is essentially the point of the first game, is they introduce this thing that's been happening for I love the nomenclature they use. It's like all of this is beyond your comprehension.
Yeah.
We have been around so long, you can't even understand it. The reason we're doing it, you can't understand it.
Yeah. And you find out in Mass Effect 3, like the true origin of the Reapers and everything. But
which I don't think I actually...
Yeah, it's in a DLC, so you wouldn't know that.
But the point of the game is that you sort of make this dent in destiny, in something that has been happening for all of time.
Well, yeah, because that is what's so great about it, establishing this threat, this looming threat that's coming. But in the first game, it boils down to the climax is them fighting one. You know they have hordes of these things coming. And what is so brilliant about Mass Effect 1 is, they establish the world. And what is so crucial to the Mass Effect world is that the kind of transportation system that is in the galaxy is like... It's a trap, effectively, that the Reapers have set. So what happens is primitive species evolve to a certain point until they're spacefaring. Then they'll stumble across some kind of Reaper tech, or what they think is Prothean tech or whatever, which boosts them ahead in terms of evolution, And it's kind of a tricky way that the Reapers are able to nudge different races to evolve down certain paths, and it always leads to them discovering these, what do you call them, the mass relays.
Yeah.
They're these big, what the fuck do you even call them? They're like these big ship things with the Mass Effect field.
Yeah, they look
embedded.
like a ship, and from what they show, you can
They're
fly.
like slingshots. They slingshot you around the galaxy.
Yeah, like light speed, so you can just get to anywhere in the galaxy.
Yeah.
And they're all connected in such a way it's like an underground train.
Yeah, it's like the underground in London, sort of.
Yeah.
But all across the whole galaxy, with the hub being this place called the Citadel, which is, you find out in the game that I think the Asari are the first ones to discover the Citadel.
Yeah.
And from that point, they kind of adapt to the technology. They obviously live using all the Prothean tech and all the Reaper tech and everything. And they don't realize the reliance they have on it, and what they're doing is actually setting a trap for them, because the relays are how the Reapers reap. Because it means what they use the Citadel as a point of like warping in, and then they just go relay to relay, shutting the relay down. Nothing within,
stranded.
Nothing locally can escape, so they just harvest it. And the way they harvest is horrible, and they're like, they have this innate ability of indoctrinating, they call it, where they have this ability of sort of convincing people that, and controlling people through means that where they believe themselves that they're on the right side, even though...
Yeah, it's sort of a case of, because this is the main antagonist's motivation. The point of indoctrination is that it convinces you that you've already lost. And there's the best thing you can do is become a slave. That's...
Yeah, well, indoctrination is a big thing in all three of the games. And just this idea of control and AI and rebelling against the created and this cyclical thing. And to me, Mass Effect is about evolution. The whole thing, simply. Because that's another like genius part of it. Each one of the races, they are kind of like these concepts of, hey, what if there was an alien race where the primary like the apex species, you know, like humans are on Earth, like the Asari, for example, they evolved with the ability to mate by like joining nervous systems, and they get DNA from that, and that's how they have like a versatile species. Yeah,
they talk about because you can talk to Liara in the game about how it works. Yeah, and it's asexual reproduction. So like there are species that do that on Earth.
Yeah.
But they sort of use other like sentient beings to improve their DNA.
Yeah.
To like further mutate them, and awesome idea.
Yeah, and that whole thing with like the Quarians, for example, where they created an AI themselves, with the Geth, which rebelled against them. So then they're forced to living in this like flotilla, all these ships. They're never settled on a planet. They don't have their homeworld is overtaken by the Geth, so they're spacefaring, which meant they're always in these suits. So they've got like really bad immune systems.
Yeah, their immune systems really suffered.
So there's like always this underlying logic to the way the world kind of works. It makes sense, even though they have the biotic powers, they got the silly weapons, the silly sci-fi kind of stuff. There is this underlying kind of logic to it, and the way that everything fits together.
They came up with rules within this universe, and they stick to them to a T. At least in Mass Effect 1, they never break a single rule or setup they make.
Yeah, but the actual conflict begins with Saren, who's the main villain. He's a Turian who's, I think his brother was like killed in the First Contact War. So he already had an innate thing against humans, which kind of drove his initial motivation, which I guess helped Sovereign. Is that the Reaper in that?
Yeah.
The first Reaper or whatever. So it's kind of there's a bunch of reveals in Mass Effect 1. Sovereign being a Reaper and being a ship or whatever. That's one of the major reveals in the game. The way it just comes together seems so natural, and the way it's like blocked out over the trilogy. You get just enough in the first game where there's so much mystery, so much intrigue, it leaves on a point, yeah, you've beaten one of them, but there's still all this other shit that's yet to come.
Yeah, but I do want to say as well, everything they give you in Mass Effect 1, if they could have, for whatever reason, never have made Mass Effect 2 or 3, Mass Effect 1 gave you enough.
Yeah.
It's a complete story, because it ends with you making a victory, but alluding that more is going to happen in the future.
Yeah, it's such a good way of having, like, you overcome an odd, like an impossible odd, but there's still
it's the Star Wars thing. It's we've destroyed the Death Star, big victory, but we haven't won.
Yeah, I think about Star Wars in terms of like contrasting it to Mass Effect. It almost feels like, you know, when George would always say, "Yeah, we planned out this whole thing." Yeah, it's like, no, this is like when you've planned shit to a T. I think they spent over a year just in like pre-production, just like figuring out just the world and the history and everything. And like, there's so much to it, and the way it actually is embedded into the story with stuff like the Rachni Wars, and the Genophage, and these things that are all linked and they all come together, and like the First Contact War, and how like Ashley, who's a member of your squad, where her like story is that her granddad was like in the First Contact War, and he was the first guy to surrender to aliens. So it's like a huge, which is like her explanation as to why she's kind of racist.
Space racist.
Space racist, yeah. So I'm dancing around, fucking jumping everywhere. But the point is, the story and the lore is what is incredible about Mass Effect 1. It's on par with like the great movie was, the great books. I really think it's...
Yeah, if not superior.
It stands the test of time.
I think this game may have the best sci-fi world I have ever... Because I'm not someone... I prefer... When it comes to fiction, I prefer fantasy, to be perfectly honest.
Swords and shields and dragons or whatever.
Yeah. But when I was younger and I was playing this game, and the rest of them, I was never that into them, but something was grabbing me. And it is all of that you've just talked about. This ridiculously thought through world that... Even with the limitations of Mass Effect 1, of which there are many.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
This world is so dense with detail and history that you're immediately along for the ride.
Yeah. But it's also the way it is dripped out, because I said like the Genophage, for example. Huge part of each game. Huge part. Each game has like an entire section dedicated just to the Genophage, and it kind of all comes to a T in the third game. And that's like such a rewarding part of the world, and it does seep into everything. It's in like all the conversations. It's the major motivations for certain characters, and it feeds into the way like the different races have ancient beefs with each other. Because like the Solarians, they're like bug creatures that... Were they bugs? They're kind of like lizard...
The Solarians?
Yeah. They're like short-lived, fast-talking, really clever...
really intelligent. Stuff that on a surface level looks like... that's
the obvious... Yeah, that's the thing. The obvious like tropey things like the warrior race. You know? Like every science fiction has their version of it. But the Krogans are such interesting like characters.
Yeah, and particularly the stepping off point into that world we get in Mass Effect 1 being Rex is a really complex character.
Because the Krogan, when you jump in, they're in a bad place.
They're awful.
They've got no like kind of organization as a race. They're split up all over the galaxy. They're just like mercenaries and muscle, and on their home planet it's just like chaos. Like there's...
Yeah,
and
they're essentially a race post-genocide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they don't know what to do about it because, going by Mass Effect rules, they're not a thinking race.
Mm-hmm.
They're a fighting race.
Yeah, yeah. But what is so fascinating about that is when you actually delve into the Rachni Wars and everything, it's like they needed the Krogan.
Yeah, they used the Krogan.
Yeah, they used the Krogan, and then when the Krogan became too powerful, they genetically modified them so they couldn't have kids anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, the way that comes out through the game, it's genius. The way they implement all these, like, it's like echoes of society. Obviously, humans, the way it's breaking up all the way like humans like beef and have conflict and the politics of it. But when you apply it to the sci-fi world, and you have your Krogans, your Solarians, it just comes across like so creative, and it doesn't like hammer down like obvious themes or anything. It's
and it doesn't tell it. It doesn't outright say to you what the right thing to do is.
Well, yeah. The another thing I love about the game is the title.
Yeah,
Mass Effect. Mm-hmm. It's double meaning with the. It's like the gimmick of the three games is that your choices have a mass effect on the world.
Yeah.
But also within like the lore, the Mass Effect fields are absolutely core to the way everything.
Yeah, which
the whole
also
tech
had
works.
a massive effect on everything because it's how they progress to light speed travel.
Yeah, it's just so thoughtful and self-contained in the way it's like, in 21 something like humans find something on Mars. So that opening like Blade Runner crawl where it's like just sets the scene with that music, with that atmosphere. Yeah.
Quick aside, did Destiny rip off Mass Effect?
Well, that was drama behind the scenes, if you remember. Do you remember that Jason Schreier article where he's like describing the whole problem behind the scenes at Bungie? This is like a total aside, but in that report, apparently that's part of why the Destiny was like such a mess, is because half of them wanted to make Mass Effect, half of them wanted to do this like online multiplayer thing, because like, there's definitely enough content in Destiny, like in terms of like maps and worlds and shit, where they could
more than Mass Effect.
They could,
1.
because Mass Effect actually does a really good job of like establishing a core and then rejigging the shit they've established in a way to keep it fresh, while also having like a great story and everything you want. But yeah, I mean, as far as the story goes, I mean, you can fucking go forever.
I think.
Do you want to go more into like the actual levels or standouts or?
Just story wise, it is practically flawless.
Because like each level explores something that's crucial to
the world as a whole, and the plot.
Mm-hmm.
You never waste time.
Yeah, so you got like the Rachni place, or the Rachni level, where Liara's mum shows up, and
Noveria. Then there's Feros with the.
I heard a crazy detail about that level where you go to rescue Liara.
Yeah.
It's like supposed to be one of the first levels of the game. Mm-hmm. You can not do that level and wait till like the end of the game and do it.
Yeah.
And they like change her dialogue. So when she's like brought into the ship, and because you've done everything, like you're explaining everything that's happened. So, and then her dialogue's really funny because she's like, "What? What are you talking about?" I've been like trapped in this thing this whole time.
That is something. The amount of thought they've put into dialogue. This plays more into Mass Effect 2. I've noticed way more of that stuff in Mass Effect 2, but Mass Effect 1, just the order in which you do things, the amount of different lines they recorded based on what your character knows and what you've done as the player, it's mind-boggling.
It has the best use of the like dialogue tree and actually the different options you can get through it. It's the most open, which is its biggest strength and weakness.
Yeah, should we focus on the dialogue for a bit? Because that is a core part of this game.
Mm-hmm. It's part of the Mass Effect.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's where I have my first flaw with the game. A bunch of... it's the Paragon Renegade system, which I do think is aged not very gracefully.
Yeah, because it it basically boils down the playstyle to your one of two things. Most people they're going to stick to their kind of Paragon choices, or their Renegade ones. I don't see why you would even bother jumping around. If you're doing some Paragon, some Renegade, your bar's only going to be like half on both, and you're not going to have stat checks.
Unless you do the glitch. then
I didn't do any glitches this time. I used to do that. I did the like mining glitch on the original one.
Mining?
There's like a bomb you set off in that Liara level, and there's like an XP glitch you can
I didn't do that either.
Yeah, I did that on the 360, but...
Yeah, there's a lot of... My issue with the choices is that a lot of the time they boil down to choose option that is good and has no consequences, or choose option that is bad and has loads of bad consequences.
It's one of the things about Mass Effect where the choices actually don't mean that much. Broadly over the trilogy, there are some major things like the Rachni stuff in 1, the Genophage stuff in 2. There are examples of it, and there's especially in the wider side quest stuff. There's some really cool like payoffs. And the way those come together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do agree with what you mean.
Yeah, it's I don't know why, if you're playing a role-playing game and you're role-playing as a guy that's trying to save the universe, why you're even given the option to just
be evil.
The idea of being renegade, I understand.
Like ruthless.
I think the way the game should have worked, this is me totally like spitballing, but I think Paragon, those choices should have led to harder gameplay. Whereas Renegade would have made the game easier.
Oh, so you can
in
like
terms
just,
of combat,
like threaten people out so they don't have to fight or bribe
so
them
Paragon, you say Renegade, you could preemptively shoot people or something in a room. Whereas Paragon, you wouldn't.
So that's what they're doing too.
Yeah, partially though. Again, the choice, for example, because I've been doing a Renegade go through, but I have been switching to Paragon for certain critical choices. Because I can't...
Some are just bad.
I can't understand why you could even consider the Renegade option, like the Rachni. At my point of playing the game, I knew nothing about the Rachni. I didn't know their history. And from the information I was given, it didn't make sense to just wipe out this like entire clearly intelligent species that I'm talking to.
Yeah, because the Rachni and that other level with the like plant thing.
Yeah, is it called the Therian?
The Therian on Thessia.
It's TH. Yeah. It's on Pharos,
yeah. I'm really bad at remembering all the planets and stuff like that. There's just so many.
Yeah, I've got most of them in my head.
But they both like enforce the indoctrination control thing.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah, I don't really have any problems with the story of Mass Effect 1 in particular. What about the characters? I mean, I think it has the best villain probably of the three.
Yeah, but I also think it has the weakest squad. It's the characters aren't weak. It's just the way you interact with them. There's less sort of specifically designed cutscenes.
Yeah, there's no like loyalty mission type thing.
Yeah. But there's just less flair in general. You go down to a character, you talk to them on the ship. It's just shot, reverse shot, shot, reverse shot, and they don't show any emotion or anything. It's just their lines. Then you get to choose your lines.
The voice acting carries it in 1.
Yeah, for sure.
And the like dialogue writing, I guess.
Yeah, and all the information you're given. You just don't have that touch like you do in Mass Effect 2, where
bit slicker.
Yeah, it's slicker when you're talking to Garrus, and he sort of turns away from the camera because he's in grief about his squad that was killed.
Yeah. They definitely upped that as it went along.
Yeah, big time. But again, it came out in 2007. It's cruel to compare, but going by Mass Effect Legendary Edition was released this year.
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
that stuff is weaker.
I'm not mad about Liara's mum that much.
Yeah. Again, it just suffers from the lack of like cinematic flair they could put into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
limited by the tech of the time.
Yeah, because that would be like a huge story beat normally, or like a huge point of drama, but it's almost like
and the fact that it is an option to bring Liara on that mission.
That's the thing. It's like when you have to design it to be so broad, you are going to miss certain things like that. But overall, I like the story and the way it establishes the world and the mechanics of everything, like we said, and the races and shit. So.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And like it sets the seeds for the other games. In Mass Effect 1, there's like the side quests with Cerberus. They set that stuff up. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that stuff's good. I do want to mention, there's actually a really cool hidden mechanic in Mass Effect 1.
Really?
Yeah, so with each character, you have your Paragon Renegade stat that you can see, but the way you talk to each character influences their Paragon Renegade that you don't see, but it affects the lines that they say to you in critical moments.
Wow.
So if you agree with Ashley about all the racism stuff, she goes down to more Renegade. And then in her voice lines in the game, so on your team, you always have like the angel and the devil on your shoulder. One of them will tell you to do one thing, one of them will tell you to do the other. Yeah. Which one says it depends on their independent Paragon Renegade stats.
I didn't know that, yeah. God, I didn't know it tracked it independently like that.
Yeah. No, I saw it on a channel called Game Maker's Toolkit, which I highly recommend. Like, yeah, Mass Effect 1 doing shit like that.
This is what I mean. And
no other Mass Effect.
And there was still things in Mass Effect 1 that I was seeing that I'd never seen before. I couldn't say the same about 2 or 3. That is what is unique about 1.
Yeah, and I sort of feel like there is still more. If I went back and played it again, I'd see stuff that I didn't see this time.
There's even weird stuff like, there's a side quest in Mass Effect 3 you can only do if you did like a really random side quest in Mass Effect 1.
Really?
Last note on while we're talking about story or whatever, music, and just general atmosphere presentation. Again, it's so important for that first one to establish the identity, and it just nails it. Within the first 15 minutes, the identity is so strong. Within
the first 10 seconds, I was immediately in, because I bought this game on a whim. I've been down on this game for ages. I was like, there's no fucking way I'm ever playing Mass Effect 1 again. This game is trash.
Yeah.
I go on the game, hear that menu music. That main menu music is enough to motivate anyone to start this game. I truly believe that.
The soundtrack is next level. It shits over the other 2 soundtracks.
Oh yeah, it shits over.
It might be one of the best video game soundtracks. Because it's like an old way of thinking the way they do the music in that game. Cause it's like fucking always playing music.
Yeah.
Like every area, almost like a Mario world, has like its music, and you will never forget that fucking music.
Yeah. If you were just played, if you were played the Nivirian music,
it takes you to the location, the like color palette, the enemies, like the story beat, everything. It's so well done with everything presentation wise like that. Yeah, major props. Yeah, and that soundtrack, it's like establishing that main theme you said about with the galaxy map,
Holy
the
shit.
like Normandy when you're in the ship music. It's that synth, the droning synth. It's so cool. Absolutely obsessed with it in Mass Effect 1. Gameplay. That's when things get interesting. Because we've been like praising this game all over for its like story and its world building and everything. Gameplay is more complicated because I gotta tell you, I played this on Insanity and there were points where I was pulling my hair out.
I thought Saren would have set some kind of trap or ambush for us. They must have been in too much of a hurry.
Or we just haven't run into it yet.
Not even at like the straight gameplay, but the jank awkwardness of like old games from that time. It's the only Mass Effect game where you can actually look at the map in like every level.
Yeah, I mean, it falls under gameplay, I guess. The level design is fucking atrocious. It is so fucking bad.
Yeah. I can only put up with it because I played the game so many times, so I know where to go.
Yeah, and I didn't. It took me back exactly to why I was saying to you, I'm never going to play this fucking game again. I think it's shit. Because
they often give you answers to things by you have to like actually read in the journal like what it's telling you to do.
Which I don't necessarily have a problem with, but even when it's not that, the signposting is non-existent.
The signposting is really bad. They actually improved it in this version.
Really?
The signposting, in Mass Effect, it kind of became an established mechanic when you're scanning over an area. If there's something of note, it's kind of highlighted, so you know that there's something important.
Yeah.
I don't really remember Mass Effect 1 having it with the range it does that it does now. Because I remember, like, there's like a process through going through a level. You like want to make sure you're going not the main way.
Yeah, you want to comb everything.
Yeah. And I remember that being really awkward in Mass Effect 1 and 2 originally, and they've definitely changed that. Should we talk about the changes then first?
Yeah.
Because the gameplay is better. A lot better.
Without a doubt.
There's feedback now, hit markers, just in general, the camera placement, the HUD is all different. They tweaked it a hell of a lot. It's definitely the one they tweaked the most. And that's why it was delayed, wasn't it? Because they wanted to get one.
Yeah, I think
better.
if they'd have released Mass Effect 1 in a state where it just played the same as original
I wouldn't
Mass
have played
Effect 1. No, because it was really bad. I don't know if you remember, but like the accuracy on weapons, it would bloom immediately. There was no visible recoil. The screen wouldn't move. And then it would take forever to become accurate again. They've totally redone the whole system. It feels surprisingly good when it's working properly.
Yeah, you can't take out that inherent jank from that game. It's way more like physics based than 2 and 3.
Yeah,
because you're in the Mako a lot. This fucking car thing. So you're jumping in and out of that, like traveling around, and I think the Mako was like the worst. Probably the thing I dread most in Mass Effect 1. Those parts just aren't fun.
Yeah, and every single side quest in the game comes down to you being just placed in a procedurally generated square of a map.
Yeah.
And then
there's the green planet and the red planet. And
well, there's like 15 green planets, 15 red planets, and 15 white planets. That shit fucking sucks.
I think it's perfectly legitimate to just do main missions in Mass Effect 1.
Yeah.
Fuck around in the Citadel, Bring Down the Sky, and just do the main missions.
But even Bring Down the Sky was a DLC for Mass Effect 1. It's got to be one of the worst DLCs I've ever played.
Yeah, it's not very good.
The only thing it adds to Mass Effect 1 is the race that you never see being the Batarians, which is quite significant if you play as,
I just like the story stuff. I don't like the design of that the way it works.
It's terrible. Because it's just another
and it was
map.
even worse in the original. You're like driving around and these like turrets come out of the ground. In the original, you could just like park on a mountain and just like shoot the cannon down and kill them for like this.
You can do that in the majority of Mako combat.
I couldn't on Insanity. I had to be
really? even with that being said, that there is no thought through combat.
Oh no, the combat sucks. They did adjust it slightly so you can move around and repair now.
You couldn't.
In the
move
original,
before.
it like locked you in place.
That is so stupid.
So when you were fighting like Thresher Moors, it was like awful.
Yeah. But this all stems from what Mass Effect 1 was originally meant to be, which is a game totally different to
Andromeda.
what we got. Yeah. Well, yeah. But I mean, it's a case where their limitations drove them to make a better game than if they did get to do this procedurally generated Andromeda game. Because I still don't think now procedural generation is in a place where you can make a quality narrative.
It's the kind of thing
out
where
it.
it sounds like really awesome and alluring, but when you actually play No Man's Sky, it's actually like...
In practice, yeah, we just can't do the numbers.
To me, a hyper-focused, more linear experience with like ultimate planning, with a focus on the story like Mass Effect, that to me is much more valuable than the idea of... the admittedly cool idea of exploring like a galaxy, going planet to planet. But you've got to choose one of those things. They tried to do both. One of them fell flat on its face so fucking hard. But the other stuff was so good that it was enough to, you know...
They're lucky they made the universe they did. Because this gameplay ain't carrying shit.
What sort of abilities did you use? Because it breaks down into three major sort of gameplay options. You got your guns, you got your
straight
biotics.
combat, magic, and tech.
Yeah.
Tech and magic are pretty similar.
Yeah. It's just the way all of it works. Mass Effect 1 is pretty jank. You can't do what you can do in the later games where you can map multiple abilities to like the bumpers or, you know, multiple keys or whatever.
I mean, I played on PC, which works differently, so you can map every ability to the numbers and just immediately spam them all out.
Did you play like a... What class did you play?
I played as an engineer, which meant the only weapon that I could like upgrade my skills in was pistols.
But you get all the abilities though.
You get all these abilities where you can like deal loads of damage to shields. You can make it so
you like hack AI and shit.
Yeah, you can make AI attack their friends. You can it's loads of fun shit. You can like use an ability that makes it so anyone that gets hit by that ability can't use any of their abilities. So the thing is, what it turned into in the later part of the game, because I played on hardcore, I think. Not the hardest, but up there. What it turned into was get into a room, hold shift, and just go through them. Just use ability.
Yeah, because each power in Mass Effect 1 recharges independently.
Yeah.
So you can just use, when you're a class like that, you have 1 million powers, so you can just spam 1 million powers.
Yeah.
And what I would do on Insanity is kind of rely on the powers that ragdoll people.
Yeah.
Once that's the tactic.
But the thing is, when you get to a certain point in the game where you can put explosive rounds on your weapons, which means every single shot you shoot and hits near or hits the target, they just fall over.
Yeah.
And then once they've fallen over, you continue to shoot them. They move a little.
You don't even need explosive rounds for that. Some of the like poison rounds do it even.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, if you just read the descriptions, because that's another fuck thing about the game, is the like equipment system. It's cool that there is like so much loot and whatever.
Yeah.
But the way, what is the problem with it? Are you getting too much of it, and then the UI is so awkward, and like comparing everything is such a pain in the ass? You just never want to do it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's organized in a way where the best thing is normally at the top.
Well, you can choose how you sort it, but
that's how I never changed how it was sorted, and that's just how it was for me.
Yeah.
So I'd pick up like 1,000 things, then just go into the menu, put on the best thing, and then be good for the next 5 hours.
Yeah. And then you go until you start getting the warning messages that you're going to be over encumbered or whatever.
Yeah, and then you have to go through the menus, putting the trash can thing on every single one.
Which wasn't in the original.
Yeah, so it took even longer.
Yep.
This is a lesson to anyone making an RPG. Carry limits, not fun. Never do it.
Yeah, not fun.
Weight limits, no. Just don't do it. Do the Dark Souls thing. Infinitely better.
Well, they do that in Mass Effect 3, don't they? Where it's kind of like your powers come back based on how heavy you are, how much shit you have equipped.
Yeah, but also you're not like carrying a bunch of equipment.
Yeah.
It goes to your ship and shit. It doesn't make sense that Shepard is carrying like 1,000 fucking guns and armors and shit on him.
So why even
Why is
put a
there a
cap
limit?
on it?
Yeah.
Why even care about it? Yeah, I mean, what do you think of like the enemy variety? They rely on the Geth quite heavily in Mass Effect 1.
Yeah. In terms of how they look, it's quite varied. In terms of how you deal with them, it's always the same.
But they've got a couple of different gimmicks. They've got like heavy guys that sprint at you.
Awful.
Awful.
Fucking terrible.
They're really annoying on Insanity.
Yeah,
You've got to like freeze them or just get them on the ground.
There's the Geth that sort of jump around and snipe.
They're my personal least favourite.
Yeah, any sniper character, bullshit.
Yeah, because
on the difficulty I was on, they killed me in one hit.
Really? They have that annoying move where they like hit you with this thing and then everything's like overheated for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, that as well.
Fuck that.
There's a huge difficulty spike early on when you go to Liara. You have to fight one of the 4-legged Geth.
Yeah,
and it's impossible.
It's that part.
You just have to do it over and over and over again.
I died so many times
until you get the lucky one.
Well, the way I did it was I just got a sniper and just stood really far back because the AI is a bit fucky in Mass Effect 1.
Yeah,
so Actually, the AI I think is a little bit broken in all of them.
Is this a Legendary Edition thing?
I think it might be a Legendary Edition thing, a bug where some of the AI just straight up aren't activating. They're just standing there, not moving or whatever. Some buggy shit like that, the achievements are fucked. I did a Mass Effect 2 on Insanity, didn't get the achievement for it.
Yeah, weirdly, after I finished Mass Effect 1, when I finished the last level, I got an achievement for finishing 5 levels with a Quarian on my team. I hadn't done a single level with a Quarian on my team.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I never had to.
The achievements are just fucked. They're fucked.
Yeah, they're totally ruined.
Because there's like ones for using powers a certain amount of times. I definitely 100% did used it more than 30 times, but there are like 2 of them I still haven't unlocked. Shit like that's annoying, but largely it was pretty good. All the glitches, all the main glitches I had in Mass Effect 1 were the exact same ones I had in that original version on the Eden Prime, where like the music just fucking breaks for some reason. Like in the last part where you're defusing bombs, there's just no sound. I always used to get that glitch on the original. I think that level is just like fucked. The like source code must be just like so because Mass Effect 1 is a bit fucky because they couldn't even include Pinnacle Station, which was an awful Mass Effect 1 DLC.
Was that
it was like this horde mode thing?
The VR horde mode thing. Yeah.
So I know some people are sad it's not in there, but I'm actually happy that that's not in there.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was wondering why it was never on my map. And I was like, I don't give a shit.
Mass Effect 1 has the worst DLC. 2 and 3 actually have DLC that's like must play, improves the whole like universe type shit, whereas 1's whatever.
Yeah, it might make your experience worse.
Other little like quality of life things that piss me off in Mass Effect 1. Just going around the galaxy map's really annoying because they don't have like labels that like stay there to for side quests.
Even after you've done any of the main quests, they stay tagged there as if like you're gonna want to go back, because
that's so you can like go back to do side quests and things.
Are there even many in the main?
There's a fair amount of like conversations you can have and like extra stuff to do in all of the main locations.
I just found most of it I was motivated enough to do it while doing the main missions.
I think that's what most people would do.
It's designed in such a way for you to do that, I think. But this being said, there aren't very many main missions in Mass Effect 1. These are like custom designed actual levels. You've got Eden Prime, you've got the Liara map, which is...
There's the
Yeah, there's Novaria, Pharos, Vermeer, and then the last level.
Mm-hmm. But each one of these, some of them are multiple hours long.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a lack of content or anything, but when each actual gameplay-wise, each mission is so poorly made, like, it is kind of embarrassing. You know,
It's like aged.
This is, again, why I didn't want to go back to the game.
Mm-hmm.
So the side stuff, shit. If you're playing Mass Effect 1 for the first time, and you get to the Liara planet and you can't get past that Geth four-legged thing, and then you stop, you know what? Fair enough. If you get to Novaria and then you get lost in the science labs, and then you decide to never play again, fair enough. If you're doing Pharos and you get lost on the way back to kill the fucking tree, and then you never play again,
Autosaves are terrible in Mass Effect 1 as well.
Yeah, that as well. Yeah, the game... It's crazy. The game, it almost feels like it's doing everything it can to just piss you off and make you not want to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's saying, look at this fucking universe we made. Look how awesome all this shit is.
No, I know that exact thing you're describing. I've played it enough times for that rage to come out. And I did have some like really annoying moments where it's like, oh my god, I do not miss this part of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only one of the three where I've been feeling that. Where like the design like so fucking dated in ways.
Yeah. Well, it really feels like that contrast of, oh shit, we can't do this procedurally generated thing.
Mm-hmm.
We need to make these missions.
Yeah.
We'll make 6 missions.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's out here making the argument that Mass Effect 1 is the best side content or anything.
No. But also, the thing that saves it is that Citadel last level. If you have done enough side shit to become, like, really powerful, and you're just annihilating, and you're going through the Citadel, like a god...
It's a great last level. And then
it's really good.
That the conversation we had with Saren, where you can get him to...
Kill himself.
So fucking dark, and such a cool, like...
Yeah.
Payoff for building up your, like, Paragon and stuff, and it's like a moment of weakness for him.
Yeah, but also it doesn't really... It's more comedic than anything if you're doing it Renegade. You basically just say to him...
why don't you just kill yourself?
Yeah, you're like, kill yourself or you're a pussy, basically.
And it works.
And he's like, fuck.
Maybe you're right.
Yeah, and then he shoots himself in the head. Like it's a really weird...
The Paragon one makes more sense.
Yeah, I can believe that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it just seems quite silly.
Mm-hmm. I will not deny there's a lot of silliness in there.
Mm.
There's corniness for sure. There's like inherent corniness to all the different like aliens and shit, and they've all got like, everyone's sort of like got the same body. In Mass Effect.
Yeah, totally.
there's like especially with humans, there's like one type of guy and one type of girl.
Yeah, it's just less noticeable when like every Krogan looks the same because they're fucking aliens.
Yeah,
there's man body and woman body in terms of humans.
Do you know why Krogans have like the weird hunchback?
No.
They're like camels. They've got like a hump, and it stores nutrients, so they don't have to like eat and drink, so they can just fight.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah, it makes sense for like the warrior race or whatever.
Yeah.
Anything else major in Mass Effect 1 before we head over to Jar Twitter and see what the Jarlings think?
Although I've been shitting on the gameplay and stuff, it does get really fun once you get over the hump.
Yeah.
Once you become overpowered.
Yeah, this is with the context of we're very familiar with it too.
I am much less familiar with Mass Effect than you are.
You have played the whole game before, though.
Yeah.
You know what's up in terms of that kind of stuff, so the new surprises for someone who's just jumping in for the first time might, I don't know, they might not be annoyed by some of the things we are.
Yeah, or be more annoyed by stuff that we might have even looked over.
Well, yeah, I really don't know what it would be like jumping into this without caring about Mass Effect at all.
Yeah, I think it's genuinely hard to not care from what the game gives you.
Well, yeah, let's see what the Jarks think. I just tweeted out thoughts on Mass Effect 1. At Yunoga MK2 said, kind of boring for most parts and inferior and 90% of the ways to Mass Effect 2. I like some of the immersive gameplay mechanics, but that's about it, just pales when compared to ME2.
Somewhat true.
Yeah, I actually can't wait to talk about Mass Effect 2 because I finished it like a few days ago. And
it might be a little while away because I'm only a little bit through.
Well, yeah. So you just finished Mass Effect 1.
Yeah, I will say, after going from the peak of Mass Effect 1 into the start of Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect remastered gameplay, from what I've played, feels better than original Mass Effect 2 gameplay, because I assume they didn't tweak it at all.
You do get slightly more feedback, I think, in 2.
Yeah, it's just...
I think the gameplay is just better in 2.
The thing with 2 is, to me, it suffers more from the Gears of War era of games. Mm-hmm. You're very sort of sluggish.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we can get into that when we eventually do Mass Effect 2.
Yeah.
Because I've got some similar hair pull-out moments from 2, but...
Yeah, Yeah, I think that's pretty much true, to be honest. I haven't played enough of Mass Effect 2 again to say.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's boring, though. I wouldn't say Mass Effect 1 is... Unless you're just doing side stuff for ages.
Mm-hmm.
But
I could see it.
The story is enough for you to never be bored.
Yeah. Keck Flexington says, it was excellent. Major shout out to the Elcor ambassador for being such a cool guy. That's another thing I like is there's so many races in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And there's kind of a hierarchy within the game of like... In the Citadel, there are only a select few races who are on the like council. But there are all these other races that are like doing their own shit and like they're like integrated into the Citadel, but they're not involved in the government in the same way.
Yeah.
So you have like the Hanar, the Elcor,
Volus.
Shout out to the Volus. Love the Volus.
Yeah, no, their story's actually really cool. They're like a merchant race because they're so physically incapable.
Yeah,
they're just really good at like trading shit.
Yeah, all of the races are pretty great to me. There's only one I'm not mad on. There's like screamy ones from
the Vulture.
The Vulture. They got a stupid name. They got a stupid look.
They're not in Mass Effect 1, so
yeah.
Not even a stroke against the game.
Power Couch says masterclass world building and sci-fi atmosphere in gaming. Geeky, talky, lovable. Focuses more on storytelling than action and one-liners. Unfortunately dragged down by clunky gameplay, reused assets, and maker. The one in the series with the most passion and soul. Like it's like the most
pure,
unfiltered, pure, just creativity.
Yeah,
it's like it feels like there's nothing holding it back.
I don't know if that last part is fair to say against BioWare. Like the part
passion and soul bit.
Yeah.
I think that's what they mean though. Is like it's that creative spark where they like just go crazy, come up with this shit, and they actually did it, and they managed to get it in the game in a way that, sure, some of it's fucky, but damn, they actually did it.
Absolutely worth. Good shout out to the reused assets as well. This game is bogged down with reused assets,
big time. This is some Destiny shit we're talking about.
But yeah, like it's genuinely that bad.
But do you think even in like the main missions it's that bad? What do you think is when you're including the extra shit?
It feels like within the main missions they reuse assets from themselves.
Yeah,
you know,
they
like
do.
The connecting corridors and shit, and the layouts. It feels this reference will go over everyone's head apart from yours. Mission Maker. It's like they've built these assets.
Someone will get it.
They've built the Ferris assets. Let's connect these corridors.
Yeah,
like tube.
I think that's the worst designed level to me. Is actually that Rachni one with the
Naviria.
Yeah, you got to like. There's this awful part where you've got to like go into this like AI thing and deactivate something.
Yeah, there's one of those puzzles where there's 3 slots and you can't I'm not even going to try to fucking explain it, but there's a couple.
Just navigating around that area is just so, to me.
Yeah, that was my least favourite part of the game.
Yill of the North says, very good, but only good and worth playing if you plan on playing the whole trilogy. I don't think it's much on its own personally, but I haven't played the remastered version or any of the DLC.
I think now that's true, yeah. Although I said the game, like, in its story, it stands alone.
Mm-hmm.
But now, I if you were only going to play Mass Effect 2 because you've heard all the good stuff about Mass Effect 2, you don't need to play Mass Effect 1. So, I mean, that's how we both played Mass Effect 2.
Yeah, we started with 2, but I don't know. Going back to 1 is like where a lot of my fondest Mass Effect memories are.
Really?
Yeah. Mill Amber says, I think the remaster or whatever will show that this game was far ahead of its time when it came to storytelling. A flawed masterpiece from my memory. I think that's a good shout, actually, because it's easy to get bogged down in the jankiness of it and forget actually how good what the like story, the overarching plot of that game is.
We'll totally be taking it for granted at this point. What they did with that game.
This is something I'm so happy about, actually, is that Mass Effect has been left on such a fucking downer for so long. Since 2012. And it only went lower with Andromeda. So
and Andromeda put the nail in the coffin for me. Again, it was another reason why I was so negative on Mass Effect 1.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that it led to Mass Effect 3, which then led to Andromeda, how am I supposed to get invested in this universe?
But that's what's so good about the Legendary Edition is all three of them packaged in. You have the perspective now.
Mm-hmm.
So even though you know what's coming with like Mass Effect 3 or whatever, there's still you're seeing the positives a bit more instead of
for sure
having to hyper focus on the negative shit. Everything says, best of the three wasn't just a Gears of War clone. Has a real antagonist, unlike ME2. Saren is cool as fuck. What the fuck was a human Reaper as opposed to a regular one anyways? So that's spoilers for... My understanding of the human Reaper is that, because they're so like scared of Shepard, every cycle the Reapers are harvesting DNA to build a Reaper.
Right.
So they're like making one out of every harvest, like the perfect amalgamation of all of that genetic data. My understanding is that they're like so fearful and respectful of like Shepard or whatever, and what you're doing is that they're making one in the form of him. Or some weird shit.
I haven't played Mass Effect 2 recently, so I don't know.
The Human Reaper is weird though. We'll get into that.
Yeah. It's a Reaper baby. But I can't say that Mass Effect 1 is the best of the three. I just can't.
I can only say that for the story, really.
Yeah, I'll totally accept that the story is the best, but nah. It's not the best game.
No. Because there these sects have formed now of people that are like, man, I wish 2 and 3 were like the exact same as 1 sort of thing. I understand what they did. But I also can empathize with those that reminisce on like another direction it possibly could have gone. Let's end on this one then from Leon the Akpan. An exemplar for video game storytelling, character writing, and world building, as well as being a sci-fi world staple that for me topples Star Wars. Despite its technical limitations at the time, it manages to still be one of the best games I've ever played. Yeah, that's pretty much how I feel on it. I'm definitely skewed because of my nostalgia for it and everything. But I feel like I've been pretty fair with it. I know what's up with the game. I know what's good and bad about it.
Yeah. And you can totally like a game to an excessive degree without having to say like it's the best thing ever made. You can see flaws in it.
For sure.
And Akpan's...
No, I think you actually see the flaws more if you're into it. If you're the one who's most into it, you see shit more than those who don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I agree with the Star Wars thing to an extent, because the universe is more thoughtful and thought through.
Yeah, because for me, growing up as like a Star Wars kid and then kind of disconnecting with Star Wars because it was so shit for ages. That was right as Star Wars became shit was when like Mass Effect like came in to my life and was like, here you go, have like a science fiction universe to get obsessed with or what.
Yeah, I just wish Mass Effect had lightsabers because like there's no cooler weapon than a lightsaber in sci-fi. There isn't. Sorry, guns are lame. Swords are cool.
Mass Effect doesn't have its like weapon. They tried with the like Omni blade thing that's like the Yu-Gi-Oh. It's not though. It's not
it ain't cool.
It's not like the details that make Mass Effect cool.
Yeah, no, the iconic Mass Effect thing is Shepard's little hair dent thing.
Yeah.
That's his weapon.
And an underrated thing in the Mass Effect trilogy is like space battles. There are loads of really good space battles. The one at the end of one is really cool where they take out the Reaper and the way it's like cutting between you fighting Saren and then it goes off to what the Normandy's doing.
Although that is fucking... That boss fight sucks. Sorry, but it does. And I don't like the way they use that cut to regenerate the boss's health.
That is lame.
Show him doing something that gives him his shields back.
Yeah.
Don't just cut away to the Reaper being hurt and then give him more health. Like, what?
Yeah, that is weird.
Nitpick.
The game's just sort of like that, though, isn't it?
Again, what Akpan said basically is that the game was way ahead of its time.
Yeah, on that note, and one of the main reasons I actually think this is the way to play it. If you remember playing it on the original versions, there's that like slight load thing you could sometimes see when the game is figuring out, oh, you chose this option. Okay, now I've got to load this shit. Yeah. That's not a thing anymore. Maybe every now and again you kind of notice it, but the way it's loading is fucking seamless. So it's not interrupting the flow. Yeah. And that flow is like huge to the way the game works. And I was thinking about it back in the day, you just kind of get used to it. When a game's like kind of janky and fucky and you're just like taking like a second to load.
I actually can't believe we put up with that shit. Because I didn't even have a smartphone at the time. I wasn't doing anything during you get into an elevator and back in the original, that shit moved slow. On the Normandy.
It moved really slow and they have these really long conversations that the characters have to fill that time because they knew the loading screens were so long. Yeah. And now you actually have the option to skip the elevators.
Yeah, it's just boom, done.
Yeah. The way they do it is funny too because it's like speeding up the actual asset in the game instead of like fast forwarding. It's really weird. But I'm so glad they implement stuff like that. The only other thing I can think of throwing out for this is the art direction changes based on the new resolution and the upping of the the lighting, the textures.
Yeah.
Because I know before you were coming down on the idea that there was something lost in that mood, the atmosphere that was in the original, which had that film grain slider up to the fucking max. It's like the lowest resolution that fucking...
But there was a sort of gloominess. Not like it was all depressing and
I know what you mean.
It was just this kind of like you were in a military ship, specifically the Normandy. When you're on board the Normandy, originally it felt like this is a ship that is designed for fighting. Like it's a military ship. And whereas now it's sort of, I don't know, the glossiness takes away from it. I don't think it should be a place you really...
Yeah, it's sort of more in line with 2 and 3 now, with the way that Normandy kind of...
Yeah. But I loved the contrast as well originally from Mass Effect 1's Normandy being this like, sort of like, you wouldn't really want to be on board this thing. It's just a military vessel. And then Mass Effect 2, it's like, this is a private organization's like luxury. You get a double bed in this
they took the like shitter
bedroom.
Design and just nailed it.
Yeah, which really works for what you're doing in Mass Effect 1 versus Mass Effect 2. So it's a really slight thing that
I was kind of all primed and ready for that to to be something that really annoyed me, like it does in the Halo Anniversary, the first one.
Yeah.
Where it's just like so fucking wrong. But I don't know, it didn't really bother me that much because some of the big examples of changes are like Eden Prime is one of the main ones. But like the color of the sky is completely different because the lighting is different. I do get the case for why, and I would not blame anyone for being bothered by that. But
the thing is that the more I played it, the more I forgot, and the game just turned into exactly what I remembered it being.
Yeah, and they tinker with it so much, like changing Shepard's model to be the 2 and 3 one.
Yeah, he definitely
that
looks
makes
better.
a huge difference.
Apart from when he crosses his arms, I'm sure you noticed it as well.
Mm-hmm.
The body like clipping.
That's the thing in all of them.
He looks totally fucked though when he crosses his arms. It's just a funny little
There's
thing.
definitely loads of like fucky bug eye, like, because it's weird now because the game, like the graphics look genuinely incredible for Mass Effect 1 at points, but it's rooted within this like ancient animation.
Yeah. And the animation is like 50% of it to me, and so I couldn't look past that stuff. And
I found out today that the reason the animations are so bad in Andromeda is because they were forced to use
Frostbite,
which had no baked-in animation like tools, so they had to do it all from scratch.
It's
just
and
like, what the
by
fuck
Mass
are you
Effect 3,
fucking doing?
They like nailed the little animations they do and shit when they talk.
Oh yeah.
And
I guess they didn't want to pay Epic.
that was
10% or
a stupid EA thing for the time. They've given up on that, but
just fucked like 10 years of their games, but whatever. Yeah, I think we're pretty much done here, bro.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, we could ramble on for another 6 hours, I reckon, but I don't know. What do you think? Do you think we're right? Do you think we're wrong? If you think we're wrong, then leave. Don't come back.
Are my shorts too short, or are they not short enough?
Are my nipples too pointy? I just don't know.
Yeah. Let us know your thoughts in the comments or whatever. We'll probably put this up as like a podcast as well. That makes sense. It's so
for
fucking long.
sure. It's like a whole discussion thing.
Yeah. And I think it was the correct decision to do each game separately because
can you imagine?
I hope you enjoyed our ramblings on this. But it's, I don't know, a great series that I think everyone should play.
So play Mass Effect 1, go back to us, start Mass Effect 2, then I'll hopefully finish Mass Effect 2.
Yeah.
I should go.
Shepard. Rex. Shepard. Rex. Shepard. Rex.